Hey new parents, I'm Brian and welcome back to The Dad Life. Over the past couple of months, I've been asked multiple times which bottle warmer I might recommend, and I didn't have a good answer until now. I previously said in this video over here that you don't really need a bottle warmer and you can just really use an insulated container with warm water and gently swirl the bottle inside the container until your milk gets warm. And I'll say that this is still true and absolutely legit. Now, for those who are new to the channel, I am a product designer with a mechanical engineering degree from Carnegie Mellon University, and I've developed a lot of products over the years, ranging from smart safety equipment for first responders, to gas detectors, to industrial equipment for smart manufacturing, and high-end quality measurement systems. Using the experience and the tools and methods that I've learned over the years from developing products myself, I decided to test 5 of the best-selling bottle warmers from Amazon to see which one actually does the best job warming their bottles. I'm not going to go through the features and the bells and whistles of every single product because you can get that elsewhere. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to test every single one to see how effective they actually are with the core thing that they're supposed to do, which is warm bottles effectively. I'm going to test the electric Baby Brezza bottle warmer, which uses steam or a water bath, the Air Swirl by Baby Brezza, which uses heated air, the Groensey bottle warmer, which uses steam, the Papablic bottle warmer, which uses steam or a water bath, and the Philips Avent, which also uses a water bath. Just a quick side note, I originally wanted to test out the Dr. Brown's warmer as well, but interestingly the bottles didn't fit in the warmer even though they claim that it fits all Dr. Brown bottle sizes. It's quite possible that I'm not doing something right, but it doesn't seem like it. And for good measure, I did a preliminary test of the product without the lid on the product, which seems to be the only way it works with a tall bottle. And it barely warmed the bottle at all because the steam was all lost and the warming cycle was super short. So I ended up not including this in the official test. The other variable that I will be testing is the bottle material, and I'll be testing a glass bottle, which is from Philips Avent, and also a plastic bottle, which is a Dr. Brown's bottle because that's what I have, and see how these perform in each of the bottle warmers. So stay tuned. If you want to just see the results, feel free to skip ahead. Before we get started, I wanted to find out what the actual recommended guidelines for heating up breast milk were because from my previous experiences, manufacturers don't always follow them exactly and might embellish or twist their claims in order to make a sale. So going back to the ABM standard for breast milk storage, it mentions a few times that heating milk above 40 degrees C, which is 104 degrees Fahrenheit, to deactivate lipase is not advised because this may destroy some of the immunologically active factors in human milk. Also, milk placed in hot water baths at around 80 degrees C, which is not uncommon in real life, creates islets or pockets of hot temperature because there's a lack of stirring, which makes a lot of sense. And now overheating during the warming process can cause denaturation and inactivation of the milk's bioactive proteins and decreased fat content. And it does have this one section that says warming thawed human milk to body temperature is best done over a period of 20 minutes in lukewarm water at most 40 degrees C. Now, 20 minutes is a long time, and I doubt that your little one will be okay waiting that long for their milk. And I know that both of my kids weren't that patient. So I think the question is, how can we safely heat up milk to around 37 to 40 degrees C or 98 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around body temperature, as quickly and as evenly as possible? The main things that I'm going to be looking for are how do we keep the temperature below the point where it starts to degrade the important nutrients in the milk? And 2, how do we avoid hot spots where milk might be stagnant and above 104 degrees Fahrenheit? For this experiment, I'm using 4 K-style thermocouples, which are accurate to about plus or minus 0.1 degrees C, and are essentially a thin wire, which I can attach to 4 different locations in the bottle. And I'm going to spread these out by spacing 2 of the thermocouples near the top of the liquid and 2 thermocouples at the bottom of the bottle to see how evenly the milk is being warmed up between the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to run each bottle warmer based on their specific instructions and see how each one does. To capture all the data, there's a removable SD card in the tracker, which will log the temperature readings every second, and then I'll be able to transfer this over to my laptop and plot the results. For this test, since I don't have easy access to breast milk anymore, since we've kind of moved on from that stage, I'm going to use water as a substitute, which will be fine for the purposes of this test because breast milk is mostly made up of water and fat and heats up relatively at similar rates. I cooled down a pitcher of water overnight in our fridge that I can run multiple tests with, and in between each test I'll put the water back in the fridge to keep it cool. And as a side note, we're in the middle of preparing for a big move and most of our house is already packed up, so the closest thing that I have to a pitcher is this blender container. Also, the bottles are going to get pretty warm after each test, so in order to cool them back down before the next test, I'm going to place them into a cold water bath with a little bit of ice to cool the bottles down for a few minutes. Alright, so how did the bottle warmers do? The electric baby Brezza had two different warming modes. One, which uses steam to warm up formula, and the second, which uses a water bath specifically for warming up breast milk. So that's the one that I used, option number 2. The glass bottle's warming cycle took about 5 minutes, and the max temperature was 99 degrees Fahrenheit, which is underneath the 104 degree Fahrenheit guidance. This also had an average temperature variation of about 8.8 Fahrenheit between the top and bottom sensors. The plastic bottle's warming cycle took a little bit longer at 5.7 minutes, and the max temperature was 80.9 Fahrenheit, which was almost 24 degrees below the threshold. The average temperature variation was about 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit between the top and the bottom sensors, which means that it warmed pretty evenly. For the air swirl by Baby Brezza, this uses heated air that swirls around the bottle inside the warmer, and the bottle also shakes, so it spreads the water around a little bit. The glass bottle's warming cycle took about 5.6 minutes, and the max temperature was 92.4 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a little bit on the cooler side, but still acceptable. The temperature variation was only about 4.8 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty good. The plastic bottle's warming cycle took about 7.9 minutes, and the max temperature was 105 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just over the 104 degree Fahrenheit threshold. The really impressive thing about this one was that the average temperature variation was only about 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which you can see from the graphs where all the lines are basically stacked on top of each other and very tightly correlated. Next, the Groundsy bottle warmer also uses steam to heat the bottle. The glass bottle's warming cycle took about 4.9 minutes, and the max temperature was about 112.3 degrees Fahrenheit. The average temperature variation, however, was 15.3 degrees Fahrenheit between the top and bottom sensors. The plastic bottle's warming cycle took about 6 minutes, and the max temperature at the end was about 115.9 degrees Fahrenheit, which is high. The average temperature variation was about 6.6 degrees Fahrenheit between the top and bottom. The next one I tested was the Papablic bottle warmer, which has two warming modes. The first one, which is the Nutri mode, which uses warm water and the swirling function specifically made for breast milk. And the second is a fast warming cycle for warming up formula. And I used the Nutri mode with warm water for this test. It was a little bit funny because the thermocouples got tangled when they were first starting to swirl, which I wasn't prepared for, and so everything got tangled. The glass bottle's warming cycle took about 5 minutes, and the max temperature was 99.2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is below the threshold. The average temperature variation was only 1.9 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty solid. The plastic bottle's warming cycle took 6.9 minutes, and the max temperature was 97.7 degrees Fahrenheit, and the average temperature variation was only 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, which is also very tightly correlated. Lastly, the Philips Avent uses a water bath where you can fill up the product up to the level of the milk in the bottle, just like the Nutri mode for the Papablic and also the Baby Brezza electric warmer. The glass bottle's warming cycle took 6 minutes, and the max temperature was 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which was the highest of all the ones that I tested. And the average temperature variation was 8.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Last but not least, the plastic bottle's warming cycle took 6.6 minutes, and the max temperature was 111.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The average temperature variation for this one was 14 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty high. So I do want to mention a couple of test considerations that you might have noticed. While the water from the fridge was close to 39 degrees Fahrenheit, by the time that I poured it into the bottle and started the test, the water had started to warm up closer to between 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So you might notice that in some of the results. But I think this is okay because I think this is representative of how it might be in real life. The one thing that I didn't account for was that I didn't refrigerate the bottles along with the water. But I'm not sure that the manufacturers of these actually do this in their testing either, and they don't mention it in any of their documentation. Lastly, this is not done in a lab environment, rather it's just done in my home under real life conditions, so your results may vary if you try to replicate these tests. And I would only use my testing as a reference point. So what are my conclusions? The temperature variation within each bottle varies quite a bit between the different products. And there's typically a larger temperature variation for the products where the bottles don't move or swirl. And since the heating element is on the bottom of the product, typically the bottom of the bottle will be warmer than the top of the bottle, and you'll definitely see this in the results. As you can see from the graphs, the Baby Brezza Air Swirl using the plastic bottles and also the Baby Brezza electric warmer using plastic bottles, and also both Papablic models had the lowest temperature variation. Only about half of the bottles stayed underneath the 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius threshold, which was quite surprising. Interestingly, only 2 products didn't exceed the 104 degree threshold for both bottle materials, which were the Baby Brezza electric warmer and the Papablic warmer. And of these 2, only the Papablic one was the only one that stayed within the optimum range of 98 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees to 40 degrees Celsius that I mentioned earlier. And from a timing perspective, they all took between 5 to 8 minutes to warm up, and generally the plastic bottles take longer to heat up. Alright, well this was a lot of data, a really interesting set of tests, and obviously it'll be up to you which one you choose based off of these results. And I think that moving forward, I'm going to be recommending the Papablic bottle warmer to my friends and family, mainly because it has low temperature variability, which means that it warms really evenly, and it gets close to the 104 threshold without overheating, and it's the only one where both bottle materials warmed within the optimum range of 98 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The Papablic seems to be the product that balances these different factors the best so far. So if you choose to get any of these, please consider using the links in the description below because it really helps support the channel at no extra cost to you. Also, you might get some discounts depending on when you see the video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and if you found this useful, go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more practical parenting tips and baby gear reviews. And I'll see you next time on The Dad Life.